Alright, we're going to talk a little bit about adding a dust port to vintage machinery. Dust collection is one of the things that with vintage machinery has changed a lot through the years. During this era that was not a huge concern, but as we've learned more about wood dust, it's classified as a carcinogen now. Modern tools do a lot better job of trying to collect dust at its source. That's your best bet of dust collection, is getting it as close to those spinning blades as possible to suck the dust right from there with a lot of CFM, a lot of suction. So that's always something challenging for these Unisaws. A lot of times Unisaws will have holes cut in them, squares cut in them, all sorts of stuff. In this case, this Unisaw had a hole already cut here, but it was pretty messy. It wasn't round at all. So what I wanted to do is try to make it look a little better. And so I had some 4-inch HVAC ducting. It's the kind that's flat, and then it's called snap ducting. You roll it together and it snaps. There's a little seam along the edge that you can see right here. And so I could have bought a flange from the big box home improvement center. They have all sorts of HVAC fittings. That's what most of my dust ports are. Sheet metal is easy to work with, and it's bendable and shapeable. But I had a section here left over, and I just made my own. So on the back side of this, you can see that I essentially cut slits in this HVAC duct, this little section of it, and then bent them out to create a flange myself. And then I created a plywood template to mount that to, because the hole was already not very round. And so I've got this all mounted together, and I'm ready now to put my rivets into these holes. I'm a big fan of pop rivets. I think they're a great way to attach things to sheet metal, especially on machinery. The way they attach looks better than a bolt or a screw. Looks a little more professional, a little more seamless. So they're very easy to work with. You just need the proper riveting tool. There's different size attachments that go on for the different size pins here, but it's pretty easy to work with. And I'll just put those on there. So I drilled my holes the right size to accept the rivets, and then you put the rivet in the hole, and you put the riveting tool on the pin, and you squeeze the handle, and then you end up with the rivets. And once all 4 are on, it looks pretty seamless. We'll clean it all up and paint it. You can see over here as well, I did another one in a similar fashion. This Unisaw had a big square hole, and so again I had a section of pipe laying around. This one I think is 5-inch. And I did a similar strategy. I used a plywood piece, cut a big hole in it, and then back mounted this to that with a flange. And there you can see the back of it. And then I riveted that together, and then also riveted it to the cabinet. And then once I paint all this, these rivets will all be the same color, and it'll blend in nice. Sometimes I even go a little further and bondo these gaps. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to do that or not, but if you're really looking for a seamless look, a little bondo here to cover those seams would certainly help. Here you can see a Unisaw where I did the bondo work to cover that seam. Came out pretty good, hides the seam well. So that's just a little bit about adding dust ports to old machinery. This will help somewhat, but to really capture the dust, you want to get closer to that blade with an overarm guard. Like I have here on my Powermatic 66, I've got a big 6-inch port on the side, and then I've got it ramped so that it reduces the volume in there, and it's ramped to the port. I've covered all sorts of holes that allow extra airflow. Obviously a motor cover is a big part of that, and then also above the blade I've got collection. So if you really want to get all that fine dust, you want below the blade and above the table collection, but that can be a challenge. So anyway, just a little bit about helping with that. And here's a little shop tour. Perhaps there's some dust collection ideas here for you. Here at the left you can see I've got the planer and the joiner set up with one port, one blast gate with a flexible hose that can connect to either machine. Here's a little bit of a close-up there on the planer. There's a 6-inch molded plastic port, and then there's a quick connect flexible port, and then you see the blast gate above that. And then as far as my miter saw goes, I've got an old wash basin that I cut in half to create a shroud over the miter saw, and then that's connected to a 6-inch port, and then the little port on the actual saw itself I run up into that 6-inch port. With my bandsaw, I've got the original port
port down at the bottom, which is like 2.5 inches, and then I added a magnetic 4-inch port with a HVAC attachment that magnetizes to the with some little magnets to the cast iron tabletop. And then my table saw, I've got a 6-inch port on the side, a 4-inch port above, each with a blast gate. All of my machines here are on blast gates, one at a time, and that's how it works.